The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, Arnold Palmer Invitational, presented by MasterCard. Not the show, the tournament itself. DraftKings picks and preview. Joining me to break this all down, he told me late last year that he was going to get back into golf so he could come back on the show. Now he's hosting his own golf podcast every single week from Daily Roto and Roto Experts. Friend of the show, Davis Mattek. You did it. You learned about golf again.
I'm really, just so overjoyed to be back on the show talking about golf. Professional golf is easily the best sport for DFS, I think. So being able to have that tilt with me, all weekend, all year round, it's been an enjoyable experience, Pat. I'm glad that I've reached this point.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that golf has been the best DraftKings sport for ages, as it's the one that most mimics football, but you get 4 days instead of one, and that's just far more enjoyable. And you get the end of the day, you're just tuning in on Thursday, just opening the leaderboard. That sort of swept you. Like, please don't have guys in last place. I don't care if they're in first place. Just don't be in last place. Don't be the guy who's +7 when everyone else is even. So there's that. You have the cut sweat. Then you actually have the real sweat towards the end. Like, I just don't see what beats it.
Nothing beats it. The cut sweat is the best day. The Friday afternoon in golf, tracking your guys every shot, seeing if they can get an eagle on the par 5 when they need 2 strokes to get to the cut. Like there's nothing like it in daily fantasy. It's even the Friday cut sweat is better than even an NFL Sunday as far as I'm concerned.
Well, we even got that this week because so many people had Gary Woodland and he made the easy birdie on 17 and then fucked up his chip on 18 to leave himself 15 feet and ended up making the putt, which is eerily reminiscent to the putt that Keith Mitchell made to win it. I know the whole location was a bit different, but it was the same length of putt, and everyone was just fired up for Gary Woodland that he did absolutely nothing on Sunday and tanked everyone's lineups.
Woodland and JT, and for me, and I think you had him too, Stuart Sink. I think Stuart Sink went birdie to make the cut on Friday afternoon, which was pretty big for me, though he did MDF the next day.
Yeah, he chipped in from the bunker on 17 from a spot where everyone else makes double bogey, and his just hit the pin and went in. So that was pretty awesome. I do want to let everyone know that the Players is next week, and I will be doing a live cut sweat show with Jeff Feinberg. Hopefully the cut provides us some drama like it would have for last week at the Honda Classic. But before we get into everything, I want to let everyone know if you want to get into a draw for $20 DK, there are 2 ways to do so. Number 1, smash the like button for the episode. Leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section and tell me which player below $7,000 you think will carry the most ownership at Bay Hill this week. The second way to do it, leave an audio review. iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, doesn't matter where it is. 5-star review, DK handle, something nice about the show. I will announce the winners on next Monday's show for the Players with Jeff Feinberg. So you're going to want to check that out. A few other housekeeping notes. We have... Actually, I got to pull this up here because someone sent me an amazing bet, Davis. But before we do that, I want to let everyone know about the Listeners League, the Pat Mayo Experience Open on DraftKings. You can find the link in the description of this video or in Monday's show in the description of the video or podcast. As of right now, there are 3,300 of 4,000 spots entered already. So there's 700 spots remaining. There's probably going to be less than that by the time this actually comes out. So if you're on the fence about getting in, it is the best contest on DraftKings. $60,000 guaranteed this week. And there's no rake, and that always makes things better. Plus, if you're on the fence about getting in on Fantasy National, you may want to do that this week. For the second time in 3 weeks, over $100,000 won on DraftKings by members, including a $100,000 winner this week. Congratulations again. But the prices are going up on Thursday. But if you get in now, you're going to be doctored into, grandfathered into the price that it is established this week. So if you were thinking about getting in before the Masters, just save yourself the money and get in now. That's the way that I would approach FantasyNational.com and becoming a member. So Davis, this guy sent me a screenshot of something he won. Do you know the bet that he made this weekend?
I do not. I hope it's Keith Mitchell at 225 to 1 though.
Keith Mitchell is a part of this bet, if nothing else. It says, let's see. He should send me a screenshot of the actual bet. So it was 2 separate bets. Each way doubles played on Bet365. $50. So it's a $100 stake to get in. He played Keith Mitchell 200-1, doubled with Kurt Kitayama, who won in Oman at 12-1 this weekend. These are in British pounds. So 100 British pounds paid $139,000. Or sorry, pounds. So that's like double.
That guy Kitayama, he tried to choke it away too. He made a quad on his first hole out on Sunday and battled back to win. So that's pretty sick. But I can't imagine ever running that hot.
It's not bad. Oh, actually, sorry, he played 2 doubles. He sent me 2 screenshots here. One is the $50 each way. He also played a $44 each way when Keith Mitchell dropped to 225-1. So he won basically the same amount. So he actually won 260,000 pounds, which is, I think, like 520 American dollars.
What did he just have, like some sick soul read on Kitayama this week? What would ever possess someone to make this wager? I'm infinitely jealous of this dude's abilities.
I mean, the Mitchell part is the tough part. Like, Kitayama was one of the favorites in Oman. It was Loughton, then it was him. So he only came in at 12-1. But I had Sordet in Oman, and he like 3-putted 18 and missed like a 2-foot putt on 17. He lost by a stroke. It was a really bad weekend for me when it came down to it.
Not a great week for me either. I got a fair number of 6 of 6 teams through in Drive the Green, but most of them had Stewart Cink, and the only teams I had Keith Mitchell on were 5 of 6 teams, so not good enough. But Showdown though, round 2 and round 4 Showdown were pretty kind to me.
Do you have any specific strategy for round 4 Showdown? Like, do you target the top of the leaderboard to get those finishing points?
Yeah, I will pretty much in general, any sort of tie breaking will always go to the people further up the leaderboard. Sunday was a little bit different because so many of those names on the leaderboard, you just had no faith in closing out, like Vijay Singh or whatever. Like I still played JT in round 4 Showdown, even though he was way down the leaderboard. But yeah, round 4 Showdown, I'm really playing the top of the leaderboard a lot.
Yeah, I ended up playing 25 lineups last week. I got 8 of 25, 6 of 6 through, and then Streelman, Sink, and Graham McDowell all MDF'd and just sunk all my lineups. So that was
the MDF is so brutal. When you have 6 of 6 teams, you're anti-sweating it so hard.
Yeah, and there was at one point Billy Horschel had just was playing horrible on Saturday, and he would have saved Streelman. They were all tied for 70th, and then he birdied 18 to knock them out, and I was very pissed off.
What a dickhead.
I know. And then I always enjoy the MDF because I get so many Twitter questions about what the hell is MDF.
What is it? Yeah.
I feel like a dickhead responding. It's like, why don't you just Google it? Like, if you Google what is MDF golf, it will tell you. And then I don't need to explain it like 500 times.
I mean, like, while it's actually happening, I never know what I'm sweating against. I'm watching golf on Saturday, but I'm not like, oh, I definitely did not know that birdie on 18 cost me the Stewart Cink extra round.
It wasn't the Cink extra round. Cink was 2 back. It was Streelman who it cost.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you were fine either way. Cink just played horrible.
Either way, I was still getting an MDF.
Yes. So let's recap the Pat Mayo Experience Open. Again, the Listeners League link is in the description of this video. Are you playing in this or what?
I will this week. I don't think I did last week. I think I was too late.
Yeah, you're not playing in the best tournament on DraftKings?
I normally don't start entering golf stuff until Wednesday night. I don't know if I'm alone in that, but normally I just sit down on Wednesday night after I've done all my research and all the ownership projections are final and anything, and that's when I start to enter. I've played it when it's still open on Wednesday night, but most of the time it's far gone by then. Yeah,
I always just reserve my spots the moment that the link becomes available. I reserve those 3, and then I wait to make my lineups until Wednesday night, and then I'll mass enter the $5 or play some lineups in the 44, whatever it might be.
You know what? I'm just gonna go reserve my spot right now. So
that is the move. So recapping the winner last week, actually second place, David Barnett from the Tour Junkies. Quick 3K to him. So congratulations, our podcasting brother of David Barnett, Tour Junkies. So congratulations. Zarek was the winner, 474 points, his lineup. Do you think you could have landed on this lineup, Davis? Let me ask you this. It was Brooks Koepka at the top, followed with Gary Woodland. He then had Michael Thompson, at 16.7% ownership in the PME contest. He had Keith Mitchell, obviously, who won at 3.5%. Charles Schwartzel at 0.9%. And then the beer garden, Lucas Bjerregaard, 2.7 points, ended up coming like T12 and had a really good weekend. And that was, I mean, Mitchell plus Bjerregaard plus Schwartzel, who wasn't terrible. The other guys are relatively interchangeable. I mean, Brooks came in second, but you could have had Ricky in that spot, I suppose. Just no Justin Thomas. Is that a lineup you think you could have ended up on?
I would have never played Charles, but the rest of the guys, I think theoretically, I definitely had some Bjerregaard. I definitely had Brooks, definitely had Ricky. I would have never ended up on Charles though. It just would not have happened.
Yeah, he was just playing too poorly. And even like, he didn't even play well in Puerto Rico, which was kind of shocking too. But are you sold on this Bjerregaard way to pronounce it? Because I was just thinking Scandinavian Bjerregaard would be the way you would pronounce it.
Well, is he Scandinavian or is he French?
He's from Denmark.
Then yeah, it's probably not the way that I said it, and it's probably the way you said it.
That's the way that you want to go. I listened to Golflandia last night. Feinberg was on it with Wiley. And then Wiley's given Feinberg credit for the way that people pronounce Victor Dubesson. And I had to give my head a shake.
Well, Victor Dubesson, he's French for sure, right?
He is, but I feel like I'm the one who's known for making the ridiculous French accents.
I mean, you're the one who's known for pronouncing golf players' names in the most ridiculous way possible. Feinberg shouldn't get credit for that. You invented the Si Woo shout, not Feinberg.
Yeah, I mean, the Si Woo, people are going to credit me for the Si Woo as it comes down to it. But although he's been like a cash cow, he's been an ATM lately. I'm so glad he's back in the field. But like the Victor Dubesson is like the first one that I ever had that people were like, you shouldn't say things that way. That's very offensive to French people. I'm like, hey, go fuck yourself. They actually made a video telling people to go fuck themselves at the time. I'll see if I can find that and dig that up.
You should definitely get credit for the Victor Dubesson, not Jeff. I don't know if I've ever heard him say a player's name in such a ridiculous way. That's got to be a strict Pat Mayo trademark.
I think so. Just doing things as ridiculously as possible really is on brand for me. Jeff just gets fired. He's the king of being fired up about things.
Or just like being super, super into Ricky. Just like more into Ricky Fowler than any of Ricky Fowler's girlfriends have ever been.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's got himself a new nickname after all those putts this week. He's Lucksack Ricky. The guy has never seen an unmakeable putt that just won't automatically go in. Like, if he hadn't made that 40-footer from off the green on 17, I have no doubt that he would have chipped in from 60 yards on 18 for eagle to get to -8 too. Like, the guy runs very hot.
He didn't run that hot in Phoenix with the double drop on, what was it, 14, where his ball went in the water twice.
Sure. He also, I think, gained more stroke. He doubled the next closest person in strokes gained putting that week.
I cashed that ticket, so I have no complaints, but I probably won't bet on Ricky again for the rest of the year.
I'm still furious about not having the Ricky ticket because it was between him and Finau, and I went with Finau over Ricky. It's thinking back on it, it's so stupid.
Bad course history, bro. Come on, aren't you team course history?
Not especially. Like, I always and listen, when it comes to Finau again at Phoenix next year, I'll probably bet him again next year and feel like an idiot when he misses the cut for like the 5th straight year. But I don't know what maybe it's the party atmosphere. You got a Mormon dude at a party atmosphere. Maybe he just doesn't like the vibe.
It's so weird to me that Tony Finau is Mormon. I probably would guess 50 dudes on tour being Mormon before I would get to Tony Finau as a guess.
No, I mean, when you're from Utah, I mean, I don't even know if he's from a Mormon. I just know he's from Utah, so I just assumed. Maybe that's a bad assumption.
They're not even allowed to drink in Utah, so yeah, I can see why the party atmosphere would throw Finau off. He just hears 16 and it just triggers him.
God, I mean, who do you think gets more triggered? Finau on 16, cussed by everything, or you on Twitter in general?
Oh, I mean, cuss gets way more triggered than me. Like, I get triggered, but I have the ability to step away.
No. You get legit triggered by things. Tim sees like a Diet Coke in a weird flavor and like goes into a shame spiral for 3 weeks. But like people tweet at you and you freak out.
I mean, it's true. Some people certainly know how to get to me in a way that like legit triggers me. Like Dave Gettleman and the New York Giants like actually trigger me. Like, it really makes me mad, like, to hear Dave Gettleman quotes.
Okay, maybe you can be on board with this. Paul brought this up to me, that, you know, you're big on running backs don't matter. And everyone should go download, review, and listen to the Takecast, by the way. The one that you just did with Josh and Ben is really good. I really enjoyed that. JJ was on too. So I'm getting my fix of things that I like to listen to. But you talk about running backs don't matter. I think that if you were to start a golf podcast starting today, maybe we'll sell t-shirts. I don't know. But it seems like the brand for both you and I is putting doesn't matter.
Putting doesn't matter. Yeah, putting doesn't matter is the equivalent of like a 2nd and 10 run. In football, it's just like you just disregard it. Putting doesn't matter. Never look at it. Don't even care about it, and your results will be better off.
I mean, I don't ever factor in putting, and I'll tell you, I don't have the best results.
There are, I mean, you know, I guess I would have to talk to more people who are like super good. Although my podcast co-host, Colin Drew B, I'm pretty sure he does not weight putting or look at putting particularly at all when he's doing his lineups.
So putting doesn't matter. That's something that I'm just going to be on board with. It's why I bet on Luke List every single week and bet on Keith Mitchell every week until last week. And he finally putted a little bit, and boom, he's a winner. So this week, I actually did factor in putting a little bit for Bay Hill at a 5% clip when I ran my projections. Because at Bay Hill, man, like you just go back and look at the people who have won. They're all good putters. They have good short games and good putting. It's not weighted like 35%. Approach is clearly the most important thing. Long approaches, long irons at Bay Hill is where you want to be because it's 7,400 yards. It plays longer than that because of the water, like cuts off some of the fairways you have to lay up. Then you have these longer irons in. All the par threes are especially daunting. That's where people go eject. You don't need to go -5 on the par threes in order to win. You need to play them like +1, even -1. Rory was -1 last year when he won. You just cannot make like a 7 on one of these par threes and you're going to be good. I think that's where short game really comes into play, is to save yourself from an ejection on those holes. The general par 3, par 4, par 5 scoring proximity, 200 yards, but strokes gained approach is the one that really pops up for me. What about you?
Yeah, strokes gained approach is generally going to be one of the stats that I weigh most heavy every week, and that's going to be the case this week. I was doing a little bit of research before I came on, for the first time ever.
I'm shocked.
And one of the things that I read that I wanted to toss to you and see if you're going to weight this at all is the idea that they're actually going to have the rough be a little bit deeper this year, but have the fairways be a little wider. Does that do anything to how you're approaching this tournament at all?
I mean, how am I supposed to interpret that? Like, would I put a higher emphasis on driving accuracy? Because like at where you can't just hit, you can hit driver almost anywhere you want, but where there are so many different spots on this course where water does come into play off the tee that a lot of people just club down as it is anyway, that I think driving accuracy is, it's 6 percentage points higher here than it is at like your average tour event anyway. So it's like 67% driving accuracy to 61% driving accuracy everywhere else. Like, these aren't hard fairways to hit.
I mean, in general, if I think the fairways are going to be a little wider, I would probably just weight driving distance even more and just assume that there are going to be more guys taking the driver with there's a little bit less risk if the fairways are wider. Yeah,
it's not really even the wide fairways. Like you talk about like backstopping, like the rough, like balls might go into the water a bit more, but I feel like that plays into strokes gained approach, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely plays into wedge play, being able to hit your long irons accurately. I think in general, most weeks, what we see is that players who have their iron shots dialed in, the guys who are consistently making good shots from 180 yards, those are really the guys you want to focus on taking and let the putting, putting doesn't matter. So let the putting fall where it may.
Yeah, like at this course, 33% of approach shots, and a lot of this has to do with the par threes, come from over 200 yards. So that is the range that I really went at because those are the most difficult approaches too. And like just when it pops into my head, who are the guys that are good from that range? It's like Rose, Stenson, Jason Day, that type of player. Molinari is another one who's really good with his long irons, probably because he's so short off the tee. He plays a lot of strokes from that range. And like Rose is long, Stenson's not. Day is long, but he's just good with these long irons anyway. That those would be the types of players that I would really try to target. And then using Fantasy National to really parse out who are the other players that I just might not even think of who have either been playing well from that recently, from that range, or someone who does it long term. Again, get in on Fantasy National now before those prices go up. Grandfather yourself in at today's rates. Let's talk to guys. 10K, Rory is number 1 by a lot now that Tiger has withdrawn. He is $11,400. The next closest guy is Justin Rose, number one player in the world at 10-7. Like, do you bite on Rory here, who comes in with not only amazing form, but is the defending champion?
Well, I think it's probably a fool's errand to try and be overweight on both of these guys. So I'm likely to just try and make a selection between the two of them, whether it be Rory or whether it be Rose. And, it's early, it's Tuesday morning when we're doing this. I don't know if I can make a definitive statement over who I like more, but I guess I would say I probably like Rose more, and I'm more likely to be overweight on Justin Rose than I am on Rory McIlroy.
So Fowler and Brooks are also above $10,000 too. Do you think that a lot of people end up going with Ricky solely based on what they say? If they watched on Sunday, they saw Ricky make the run. Obviously, Brooks was second as well, but he has no course history really to draw from here, where Ricky Fowler does. People like to look at this stuff that does influence ownership, and he's played well here, and he has a second and a first in 2 of his past 3 starts, and people love Ricky Fowler to begin with. I'm probably going to use no Ricky, just, luck sack Ricky. And if he's not luck sacking out, he's going to miss the cut or something crazy like that. But I just think he's going to be extremely popular because of the price point.
Yeah, no Ricky for me. He seems like the worst value out of anyone over 9,000, I guess, other than Phil, who I won't be playing. But yeah, probably no interest in Ricky for me. Anytime you gain that many strokes putting in an event, to get to the finish, I can't see it. Like, he doesn't even rank inside, in the top 15 in strokes gained approach in this field. So not a ton of interest for me.
What about Brooks?
I mean, I love Brooks, but I think the way that I'm approaching this, and I mentioned this to you when we were talking beforehand, is I do really like either one of Rory or Rose, and then I've made the decision that I'm probably going to be pretty heavy on Bryson. So if you're pretty heavy on Bryson, it doesn't make sense to also try and be heavy on Brooks as well.
So I'm really parsing it out. I have the same decision that you're going to make between Rory and Rose, and there's no way I'm going to play both of them. I'm going to play one or I'm going to play the other, and that's the stand that I'm going to make. I'm probably not going to play any Brooks and no Ricky. Bryson's really interesting, but at 9,900, I really like Jason Day. And it's funny you mentioned Phil, too, above $9,000. Like, statistically, like when you rate everyone out, the 3 guys that don't really jibe with anyone, Jason Day, Phil Mickelson, Patrick Reed, are the 3 that when you run recent models or long models, they just don't rate out that well. And Day never rates out that well, but Jason Day's won here before. He has 2 top 5s in a row. He's more of a feel player that if you think that he's going well, he peaks. And I think this is a spot where he can peak. He's probably going to be my most owned guy this week at 9,900.
I don't think that that's bad. He actually is receiving a pretty positive value projection from the guys over at Data Golf. Actually a much better projection than I assumed that he would. He's very close to Bryson DeChambeau, but I will just be leaning Bryson just because, like you said, Day is a little bit of a feel player, and I do not have a great feel for him at this tournament.
So I like looking at the short term. None of those guys rate out particularly well. But if I end up searching by 75, one of the cool features on Fantasy National is the time machine feature. So if you create some sort of statistical model to run, like, you don't know if it's going to be good or not until the results actually come out. But what you can do is load the fields and the stats from leading into 2008, 2007, 2006, and back test it that way to see if it actually worked out well. And I found that the results really did well the longer form I looked back. So past 24 rounds was not very good with the model that I had created. But if I look back at past 75 rounds or past 100 rounds and got that long-term form, it actually did quite well. And Jason Day, when you look back at the past 75 rounds, 6th in par 5 scoring, 5th in driving distance, 11th in par 4 scoring, 2nd in strokes gained putting, and on par 3s is inside the top 10 as well, and inside the top 10 from 200 to 225 yards, where the really difficult par 3s are. And when we think about short game, we think about Jason Day. It's one of the reasons that I might be on Phil as well. Like, outside of one round at WGC Mexico, the first round when he was just putrid and lost 7 strokes on approach, the guy has been incredible so far this year.
He has been really good. The thing with Phil for me is that he does always just end up being probably a little bit more owned than I would like.
He will not be this week because he hasn't played this tournament since 2013. Right now, I'm at 4% ownership projection.
I guess that would make me more. If Phil was 4%, given how many strokes he's gained on approach this year, I would actually put him into being, a much more playable option. I guess the issue with Phil is that he's right next to two of my favorite plays, in Hideki and Francesco Molinari.
Yeah, I'm big on Hideki too. So I think you could actually start your teams because where this tournament is an invitational, only has 123 players. That means at least 58% of the players are going to make the cut. So you can go stars and scrubsy. And I don't mean like take Rory and take some $6,000 guys. You could do a unique build where you go like Day, Hideki, Phil, and then drop to the $6,000 range or low sevens and complete your team that way. You can almost do an advanced version of stars and scrubs where it's not just the superstar and scrubs. You can fit in like 3 studs into your lineup and then work your way down. So I like all 3 of those guys. And you even mentioned Bryson in the mix. You have Fleetwood and Molinari there. Like all those guys are going to be more popular than Phil, which leads me to Patrick Reed, who's also right there that just legit no one is going to play.
Yeah, no one is going to play Patrick Reed, but his game is not really it's not in a horrible place right now, except for the fact that where do you think he ranks in strokes gained putting on tour this year?
Second, first, maybe?
He ranks 6th in strokes gained putting this year and is not inside the top 50 in any other categories other than strokes gained around the green and par 4 scoring average, which obviously is, par 4 scoring is going to be really powered by how well you putt.
He's at $8,900. I guess the thing with Reed that if you do invest in him, you don't need much of him to be overweight. Like if you played 20 lineups and used him in 2, you might have double the field on Patrick Reed. You might have triple the field on Patrick Reed. And because the putter has been so good, and that's the way that he's putting right now is very atypical of Patrick Reed because he's not this good, but he's not a bad putter. He's slightly above average for his career. However, he likes these really fast greens. We saw that at Augusta last year. He knows how to roll it on this. That's why Rory tends to play well at this course too, because the greens are so fast year after year after year. But it's funny, like when we talk about someone like Keith Mitchell, or even Luke List, like the ball striking is going to be there. If they could ever just putt, it's going to be amazing. With Patrick Reed, once every 5 tournaments, his swing actually shows up and like he's lights out with his irons. He's just a very inconsistent player. Siwoo Kim is very much in that same boat as well, that if they're actually rolling putts at a pretty consistent clip right now, just pray this is the week that the irons come around because they're not crappy iron players. They're just inconsistent iron players.
Yeah, it's not like Reed doesn't have a good swing, but
sometimes he doesn't. Like sometimes he's atrocious. Like he's just spraying it everywhere off the tee, can't hit a long iron to save his life. Then all of a sudden he's the best guy in the field.
Yeah, just to give the listeners an idea, he actually has negative strokes gained ball striking this year and is ranked in between Kevin Na and Martin Trainer in strokes gained ball striking. So yeah. A lot of his good results are going to be powered by putting, but when you're looking at, winning a daily fantasy PGA GBP, you're going to have to run good on putting to win these tournaments anyways. Like you're not going to win in PGA DFS without getting positive putting performances some of the times. And Reed, we know when the putting goes his way and the irons are going his way, like he can win tournaments. He's a major champion.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like when I'm just looking at his numbers right now. So he's lost on approach in 4 of the past 5 events, like 0.2 loss, 0.1 loss, 0.9 loss. He lost 4.2 at the Tournament of Champions, which is super atypical of him. Gained at Sony, and then even dating back. Then he goes through these stretches where it's like +3, +2, +8, +7, +4, +2, +1. Like, again, it depends on which Reed shows up. He won at Doral, which is a course where he really should not have competed at all when he first broke through with that WGC victory. So I don't think this place is really going to bother him that much. I just think he and Phil are going to be the pivot plays of this area. And I think I'm going to be in on Phil, but I'm thinking about breaking up my Phil ownership into Phil and Reed shares just to try to get lucky on one of them. And if both of them hit, then I'm looking really good.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing that could influence this range is, does Billy Ho end up becoming like a somewhat owned sort of guy? He has some positive momentum coming from the T16 at the Honda Classic, and I know from running projections through the first couple of times, he's come up as a positive value for the data golf guys as well.
So I just want to stick in the 9K range just for a second, because Leishman's right there too. He won 2 years ago. He's $9,500. Someone, if you're going to play a corollary that Augusta greens are somewhere that you want to look at, Leishman generally plays well at the Masters. So Day, Bryson, Leishman, Hideki, Phil, Fleetwood, Molinari. That's your entire $9,000 range. If you got to cross guys off that list that you're not going to play them, who is the first cut?
The first cut for me, and not because I don't think he's a good play, just because I like Bryson more, is Day. I'm leaning pretty heavily Bryson here.
Okay, so I'm going to go Day as my favorite play from this range. Are you going to use any Leishman?
I haven't ran through projections yet, but my assumption would be that with the boost that I'm planning on giving Hideki is that I'm not going to end up with any Leishman.
Yeah, Leishman's tough though. Like in 5 starts this year, he's 4th, 3rd, 43rd, 4th, 62nd, and he's won at this course before. And he only really came T62 at WGC Mexico because he lost 9.3 strokes putting. Not something that generally happens to Mark Leishman. I'm not going to lie to you.
I mean, Leishman is a really good player. He gains strokes in all the important areas. He always rates out well at courses like this, but I just think that Hideki seems like a more optimal guy to go overweight on, though it might be hard to get overweight on Hideki if he ends up being 20% owned.
I think that he will end up 20% owned. I love Hideki this week. I bet Hideki at 28-1. I think he's dropped to 25 already. Like, he just rates out so perfectly. It's almost like the Killa Keith situation. Give the guy like stroke gained putting this week, and all of a sudden he's going to win because the ball striking has been off the charts. Looking back at past 24 rounds, he's first in approach, he's 12th from beyond 200 yards, he's 11th in opportunities gained. The guy just legit can't putt. But we've seen tournaments with him, like it usually happens in Phoenix, but we saw it at Memorial too, and even at the Masters, where his putting hasn't been so atrocious that get him on some of these faster surfaces, and all of a sudden Hideki starts rolling in some putts, or at least isn't missing 2 footers, which is really what you need to watch out for with him. So Day, Hideki. Then I got like the Phil, Fleetwood, Molinari track to pick from. Like I said, I might just break it up into Phil and Reed in that range, but Tommy and Molinari they look so good on paper.
Yeah, Molinari, I just lock it in right now. I'll have, 25, 30% Molinari. That pretty much is the case for me every week when he plays. He is a super positive value in most projection systems. Though I guess I should mention the data golf guys do like Tommy Fleetwood and Hideki pretty significantly more than Molinari this week. Because normally before Molinari won the British Open, he came in at, a lot closer to 8,000 in the strength of fields. And, those numbers on Molinari are gone now.
He was ripping irons in Mexico. He just couldn't put 4 rounds together, but ended up playing pretty well. I think that, like you mentioned, like I like Hideki, you like Hideki, everyone's going to like Hideki. He might be the most popular, most owned player on this slate. And if we are going to fade a lot of the above 10K guys, you can take a lot of players from this $9,000 mix and mix and match, or even pair them all together if you want to. But it seems like Phil, Leishman, and Reed are the 3 that are going to garner no ownership. And I can't, you can statistically make a case that they're more inconsistent. They're not as good or safe as plays as the other guys in this range. Like, I think that Bryson and Day are sort of a cut above the rest of this range in terms of overall talent. But among that tier of like 85 to 95, if those 3 guys are going to come in at like low single digits or 5%, something like that, I think there's a viable case to be made that you just fade Hideki, you fade Tommy Fleetwood, and just take those 3 guys instead.
Yeah, and I guess the thing I would note on Hideki is him being chalky should not disqualify him from being a play, but you just need to be conscientious when building lineups with Hideki in them to do other things that are unchalky, whether it be pairing Hideki up with Justin Rose or, setting a build rule when you're making your GPP lineups that if Hideki is in a lineup, then you must use at least one of, Harold Varner or Jason Kokrak or whoever, like finding someone under 5% to pair with Hideki so that you are not building duplicated lineups.
You think that Jason Kokrak's going to come in at under 5%?
No, that was Jason Kokrak a year ago would have come in at under 5%. Now at 8,300 with him playing so well, not a single chance.
$8,000 range where Jason Kokrak resides at the top of the range. Patrick Reed, like I mentioned, Billy Ho, like you talked about, at 88. No one's really going to use him. Hatton, CH3, Berger, Keegan, Kokrak, Glover, Stenson, Ian Poulter, Bubba Watson at $8,000. This is a really weird dead range for me because I know that Kokrak and Glover are going to be super popular. I'm good with fading those guys if that's going to be the case. Stenson, I just cannot wrap my mind around. He's very Andercursed this week, so that is something.
He's playing so bad.
Yeah,
he's just playing so bad.
I think for me it's Poulter, and it's not close. He's playing great.
You like Poulter the most out of this range?
I think so. You want to hear a hot take about Ian Poulter?
Yeah,
I think he wins. I think he's going to win the Masters.
Have you already bet him? Is there a good number out there on him?
I haven't. The only Masters bet that I have in, I'd really tried to pump the brakes on my futures bet. So I have Hatton to win the U.S. Open at 80-1, and I have Siwoo Kim to win the Masters at 150-1 because I wanted to lock in that number in case it went down with Florida coming up. And lucky I locked it in before those back-to-back top fives came in. But like Poulter is... He's played well at Augusta in the past. If it's not one of those years where it's like -14 and it's like -9, -10, I think he's live there.
Man, I would be tilted if Ian Poulter won the Masters because I can pretty much guarantee that will not financially benefit me in any way.
It's weird. You Americans all hate Ian Poulter. I love Ian Poulter.
It doesn't have anything to do with, I mean, you're not going to find a less patriotic person than me, but I just don't really like Ian. I just don't really like his game. And he very rarely rates out as a positive value for me. But actually this week at $8,000, he is the biggest positive value guy on the data golf projections on Daily Roto. No one else in the $8,000 range has a better value projection than Poulter does.
Like, he's just coming in scorching. He likes these Bermuda greens. I always worry about with water with Ian Poulter. Anytime he's in contention, he just has a magnet for the middle of a lake. We saw it at Honda a few years ago, and then he melted down at Heritage when he was in contention. And I think, where the hell did Chris Kirk win? Colonial, I want to say, like 4 years ago. David Hearn was in the mix that year too. I remember these things because I had money on Ian Poulter each of those times, and he ended up fading away. Then I didn't have him at Shell, but like looking at his past results, 33rd at Sony, 18th at TOC, he was 3rd at WGC Mexico. Then he went overseas and just, it was shocking. Like he left Hawaii to go play in Dubai and ended up coming like back to back top 10. So I like where his game's at right now. He's played well at this course. He's local to Orlando, so he's very familiar with these style of greens and just even the rough, getting the ball out of it. So he's someone that I like. I wonder are people going to use Stenson? Because if no one's going to use him, I feel like I have to use him.
I mean, I feel like people see Henrik Stenson at 8,100, and I don't even know if they can help themselves, right?
But he was like 7,200 2 weeks ago, and no one used him.
He wasn't. I played him in Showdown a bunch. If I've got to be honest about it.
Let's see where he's at. What did his GPP ownership come in at? Yeah, WGC Mexico at $7,200. He was 7.6%. I used Loughton over Henrik Stenson that week.
Maybe he won't be, and he's next to names that people like to play: Glover, Bubba, Kokrak, Keegan. Like all of those guys generally will draw some ownership away.
Are you in on Bubba here?
Probably not, just because you don't play Bubba at places that aren't his happy place.
He's actually not been bad at this tournament before. I think he has a 4th like 3 years ago. He makes the cut every single time, but a higher percentage of people make the cut every year at this tournament. But no, he's not really for me. I think if I was going to go to anyone else, might be Keegan Bradley.
Yeah, Keegan and Kokrak are the two guys that I really want to play here. Keegan has not missed a cut here since 2011 and has 2 top 5s here.
Is Keegan the king of putting doesn't matter, or is it Luke List?
Well, Keegan is the original, right?
Yeah, but Keegan won a major when he was able to putt, though.
So Keegan on tour this year is 212th in strokes gained putting.
That's bad.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, he lost 7.1 strokes at Tournament of Champions, 3.2 at Sony, 9 in Phoenix, only 0.4 at Genesis, and 1.5 at WGC Mexico. He lost 1.5 strokes putting in Mexico and came 10th. So, like, if you can just have a neutral week on the greens, he should be pretty good.
I mean, yeah, if he ever gains a stroke putting, just one stroke putting, he could win.
Yeah, and I think where Glover and Kokrak are coming in hot, that people are just going to overlook Keegan in this spot, despite the fact that he has a good course history. Skill-wise, he rates out really well with that long iron play. That I think that's where my money is going to end up going in this range. You
should probably choose one of Glover or Kokrak, I would guess, because that's a lot of chalk on guys who are, relatively volatile.
So even to look at it, like when people, this is why I kind of like, you can kind of leverage some of the data models against how people mass enter. That's why I like Day and even Phil to a lesser extent, because the models aren't going to love them, because the things that they do well are sort of things that you have to look at and be like, okay, yeah, I can see how they can get around this course pretty easily. Or you see some momentum from someone like Jason Day or Phil and know that when they start playing a little bit better, everything kind of snowballs for them. That, like, when I ran the short-term model, like, Day is by far rated out the worst. He rates out at like 36th. Everyone else inside the top 10 is like 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 5th, 8th. So people just, if that's all they look at, they're not going to end up using those guys. And I think that using a balance between both is always the way that you want to do it. So Kokrak and Glover, 6th and 11th in the short-term modeling, with both inside the top 10 in approach, both are killing opportunities gained and par 4 scoring. But Keegan, despite the fact, because I weighted putting a little bit into this, where he's 119th in this field of 123 in putting over the past 24 rounds, he's 3rd in approach and 2nd in approaches from beyond 200 yards, his top 10 in par 3 scoring. So I think that that's where he's going to make his bones this week.
Yeah, I mean, if Keegan is putting a bunch of really good iron shots to 11 feet, I mean, how many, like, what's the winning score going to be here?
18 under?
Oh, man, I don't know if Keegan can get to 18 under. He can get to 12 under, though.
Yeah, but it just takes a few eagle putts on some of these, on like number 16, drain a few of those. Just play the par 5s at 10 to 12 under for the week, and you can get to that number pretty easily.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what he would have to do. He would just have to smoke the par 5s, which, I mean, yeah, he can do. I really like Keegan this week. Although there's probably like an outside chance of him getting to like 15% owned, though.
I don't think he does, but with Kokrak and Glover right there, and I think that Poulter and Stenson will carry some. And if we were talking about the builds that we were at the beginning, like if people love Rory, then you're probably not going to go to Keegan. If people love Hideki, or they love Phil, or they love Bryson, or they love Day, and they use 2 of those guys, like, you're probably not going to use Keegan Bradley as your next guy.
Yeah, I mean, he does not fit the Rory Rose build very well.
$7,000 players. Louis is the tops, tied with Luke List at $7,900. I'm going back to Luke List. Siwoo Kim is right.
Yeah, that's my player pool right there. Luke List, Louis Oosthuizen. Just give it to me.
I never used Louis ever, and it really works out.
Yeah, I mean, he's terrible, but somehow he gets all these terrible results where he just like misses cuts and just like is annoying and horrible, yet he rates out like with a good projection every week.
Well, I don't understand where the good projection comes from, though. It seems like there's a lot of like Euro data that's baked into Louis, and the one thing that people need to realize about Euro data is like they're not good fields. Like, some of them are, but a lot of them aren't. Like when Louis is playing in South Africa and winning tournaments down there, he's playing against nobody.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is probably that. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know how, all of these various places get all of the shot link data or whatever, but I just know Louis generally rates out as a positive value. And at $7,900, I will be playing some of them.
I'm going to go with Luke List instead. I can't have both those guys, and I like Poulter more than both of them in that spot. Are you going to play any Siwoo at 78?
Yeah, 100%. There will be some Siwoo. Probably try and double whatever his ownership projection is.
I can't imagine it'll be that huge, because Zach Johnson will be popular. He's right there. The one I'm really intrigued by, because I know that Ben Ann and Rafa are going to be super popular, but do we just keep riding Michael Thompson, who's been great?
No,
I feel like we should.
His stats are not horrible. Like he's decent in driving accuracy, decent in par 5 scoring, 37th this year in strokes gained approach, but he is gaining a lot of strokes putting, and he is 156th on tour in driving distance this year. Just not really my type of player. And I don't know if he has the long-term form to be considered, better than some of the guys who are around him. I'm just going to be going back and playing Keith Mitchell this week.
That's very interesting because no one's going to end up playing Keith Mitchell. We always see this when you get like a rando winner, no one uses the guy the next week and they always come in at low ownership. So I think that's somewhat intriguing. I probably won't go back to him, but I'm just looking at Thompson, man. Like besides, he ended up coming 16th last week because of the strong putting performance. Gained 8.5 strokes putting, which is not sustainable. He lost 4 on approaches. But before that, he was just trending 4.8, 5.1, 5.5, 9.2 strokes gained tee to green. And he still hasn't finished outside the top 16 in any of his past 5 starts.
Yeah, I mean, I get that the results for Thompson have been very good, and if you mess the filters around on Data Golf, and I assume the same is true when you run like last 24 or last 12 rounds on Fantasy National, he has to look like one of the best 20 golfers in the field, probably.
Yeah, he rates out 7th in what I'm looking at. Like he's 18th in approach, he's 5th in par 5 scoring, which a lot of these like par 5, par 4, par 3 scoring, like you mentioned, really are determined by how well you're putting, and he is putting really well right now, but I don't know, like maybe his irons have left him, but it was just a very poor Honda for him at a place where he had won before. But I think that where he was being talked up last week, he was pretty chalky, and he actually came through that people won't see him coming through as a positive result. Although you played a guy at $8,000 who came tied for 16th, which is fine. He was a part of a lot of GPP winning lineups. Like he didn't hurt you at all. It feels like people are going to jump off of him.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, last week he just had a good narrative, right? Because he'd won at that tournament before, the good course history, and he just was a name that popped up on a lot of these podcasts and everything. I did not play any Michael Thompson. I went 0% on him, and I'm probably likely to be 0% on him again because I like Killa Keith more. I like RCB more, and I like Hao Tong Lee more.
I definitely do not like Hao Tong Lee. I never get Hao Tong Lee right, so I just don't play him. But Rafa Cabrera Bello could challenge to be the most owned player this week. He just rates out perfectly.
Yeah, I don't like, and his price, I feel like his price is not even in line with what his betting odds were. Like, I just think his price was bad.
Yeah, like he's 60-1 to win this tournament. He's 7,500 here on DraftKings. So he's the best par 3 player in this field from 200 to 225 yards. The approaches from beyond 200 yards are amazing. And he's putting the lights out right now. Like you're getting Rafa on a little bit of a heater. He just hasn't quite come through all the way yet. And he could do that here.
Yeah, he made 18 birdies at the WGC Mexico, like smashed at Pebble. How do you not go overweight on RCB? He just feels so obvious.
But he might legit come in at 30% ownership.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in general, probably you're never wanting to play a $7,500 golfer at that level of ownership. Like you're just getting better odds to fade that guy than you would be to match the field or go overweight on him.
Yeah. So, but I guess if you have like Keith or Hao Tong or Ann or even Champ, who theoretically should do well here, but ever since he's been Anderkirst, he's just been horrible. So you probably have to take him off the list. Like,
yeah, if, for example, you would want to make a rule that you wouldn't put Hideki and RCB in the same lineup together.
Yeah, I mean, you could play those two guys together. Like, I'm not opposed to playing the chalkiest guys possible because still, it is hard to duplicate a 6-player lineup. I just think if you're looking for a leverage spot, that you don't need to play those two together in every lineup that you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, and I will be overweight enough on Hao Tong and on Keith Mitchell that probably I'm going to end up with a bunch of unique lineups as a result of that.
I just think that Byung-Hun An is a substantially better play than Hao Tong.
Yeah, I mean, so there's the thing of like Benny loves to hit it into the water. There's that, and the data golf guys do have them really close, but they have Hao Tong just like a slight bit better.
What about like the shorter hitting guys who've played well at this course? Like they're gonna get no love here. Even JB Holmes coming off a win is gonna get no love. But like Zach Johnson, Adam Hadwin, those type of guys, just because you're waiting driving distance, so just because you're playing ZJ for sure.
Yeah, he's totally in my player pool. He just like that dude grinds out T37s. Like I give him like he has the like highest cut probability of anyone in the 7,000s other than Louis.
Louis does?
Yeah, Louis. At what I'm looking at, Louis and Hao Tong have the highest cut percentage. Louis, Hao Tong, and ZJ have the highest cut making percentages on Data Golf.
Man, the move is just to go play weaker fields on the European tour, make some cuts, and people think you're awesome.
Yeah, I guess that is the move.
Yeah, because I just don't see where that comes from. But Zach Johnson last week, he was horrible on the greens last week. Horrible.
Yeah.
Lost 7
Yeah,
strokes
yeah.
putting.
I had a ticket on him at 66 to 1, and I felt pretty good about it. After the first 2 days, I was like, he could definitely he could make some noise, and then then the 74. Like, I mean, I don't like ZJ as a golfer or as a player, but I do feel pretty strong about his ability to make the cut here.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about making the cut here, though, because 6 of 6 lineups you're probably going to see, unless
You're right. Yeah.
unless like one of the big, like if Hideki misses the cut or Rafa Cabrera Bayo misses the cut, I think you're looking at like 35% 6 of 6s this week. Like 6 of 6 isn't going to mean as much this week as it does in other weeks.
Yeah, that's a good point. I kind of was forgetting the shortened field because of the Invitational.
So I think I'd rather roll with upside, and that would probably leave Zach Johnson out of it for me. What about someone like Matt Wallace?
Some like very successful and good PGA DFS players have been riding this recent form for Matt Wallace, especially in Showdown. He's been on some of the winning Showdown teams in round 4 each of the last 2 weeks, and I've not jumped on. I don't really know anything about him.
Hey, he won a few times last year on the European Tour. He's just a good British player, up and comer. But he gained 6 strokes in approach last week at Honda, so that's nice. Those are different approach shots. Those are vastly different approach shots than he's going to have this week with the longer ones at Bay Hill. But it's very interesting nonetheless. I think there is a cutoff. Like you have Matt Wallace at 74, then you have the rest of the $7,000 guys who. I don't think one is substantially better than the other. Like you have Na and Kisner who've played well at this course before. Kiradesh has good course history coming off a miscut, so it might be a nice rebound spot. I like Charlie Hoffman a little bit, but I think of all the rest of the $7,000 guys, Aaron Wise is the one that I'm going to.
Yeah, Wise has been getting a little bit of pub because people remember him from the TV incident, and he made 19 birdies at the WGC Mexico. He just he couldn't putt.
Yeah, and I always try to like correlate players together. If I think Jason Day is going to play well, I remember Wise came second to him at Quail Hollow last year. Kevin Chappell used to be a part of this mix too, that if Jason Day was going to play well somewhere, Kevin Chappell would as well, but he's still been out like 8 months with an injury. So Aaron Wise has taken his spot. So I think I might just pair those guys up together. Like Bo Hostler is another one that just because his short game is so good, he doesn't bleed back a lot of strokes. But if the winning score is going to be like -17, I'd want the birdie making guy in Wise over someone who saves par like Bo Hostler does.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Do you have any interest in Keimer?
I'm saving Keimer for my Keimer love for next week at the Players. He's just so
Affy Barnrat.
I haven't decided on Affy Barnrat yet, but probably not.
Yeah, I don't see a ton of guys down here that I really like. I mean, Wise at 7K, Varner at 6.9, Rogers at 6.9, and Lashley at 6.9.
The problem with Martin Keimer is that his short game is just atrocious. So if he's not hitting every green, he's kind of screwed. And at the Players, you're either in the water or you're on the green, and it's a much shorter course. And that really plays to his skill set a little bit more because he's not long off the tee anymore. Yeah, he's an older guy. He just wants to hit some fairways, and he's even consistent doing that now. That I think you need to pick your spots with him. It's like Willett. Like I like Willett. I like where the ball striking has really been elevated this year, but I think this course just might be too long for him. I think there are better options. It was like I was going to fade Tiger this week just because the course is too long. I think that he's always going to be better off at some of these shorter courses.
Yeah, I would not have played Tiger this week. Was kind of bummed to see him withdraw because I thought he would pull some of that ownership away from either Rose or McIlroy.
And it's not really to say that shorter players cannot play well at Bay Hill, because obviously they can. We saw Ryan Moore finish inside the top 10 last year. Zach Johnson has a really good course history. So does Adam Hadwin. It's a higher degree of difficulty for them, and that's the part that I don't like. Like when it's not neutralized, like at a course like Harbor Town or even Pebble Beach this year for the U.S. Open, where driving distance really isn't going to matter as much as it would on a course like this or a course like Doral used to be, or even the Genesis. That's when I would rather tie-breaking situations take the shorter hitter or not downgrade them in any sort of way.
Yeah, I mean, in general, it's just easier to win golf tournaments when you hit the ball further. But yeah. I mean, some of the guys down lower in this range, like, are you seeing anyone that fits your model really well other than Lashley?
Thorbjorn Olesen at 71. Scott Stallings is 16th in the model. However, if you do lean on course history, he's one of the 5 worst players at this course over the past 5 years.
My boy Adam Schenk, he is he's actually good at the ball striking stuff. He's just a horrible putter, but he has the same strokes gained ball striking as Poulter does for the year.
But Poulter can putt.
Yeah, Poulter can putt.
So of the 6K guys, the 3 that I actually, Wise is at 7,000, so he's not really on this range, but Gooch, Lashley.
Yeah, Gooch is a smash.
Gooch and Lashley are the 2 that I'm looking at. Gooch is just, he was 1 off the lead after the first round, tied with actually Aaron Wise behind Henrik Stenson as the first round leader last year. And he's just playing well. And I like him at these longer courses.
You going to play any Stuart Sink at 6,200?
No, who was I looking at down here? There was someone that just really caught my eye down at the very bottom. Oh,
Adam Long, PGA Tour winner, is the cheapest player in the field.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to go to him. You know who I'm going to waste my money on probably is Michael Kim.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Victor Hovland. That's who I've just seen some people on PGA Twitter touting this guy. I think he's like similar to Matthew Wolff, like an amateur guy who got in the field.
Yeah, he's in the field because he's the reigning U.S. amateur champion.
There you go. Yeah, some people want to play that guy.
So he's good, but like Wolff is a bit different. Like Wolff, I don't know if I would have played him here, but he made a lot of sense at Phoenix just based on his skill set.
Yeah.
So
I did not play Matthew Wolff at Phoenix.
Let's see. Sam, why not?
Because I'm a fish.
Yeah, apparently. You thought the fish move was going to be taking Matthew Wolff, didn't you?
I didn't really have a strong opinion either way, but Drewby berated me for wanting to play him.
Yeah, see, Drewby there was no stats on the guy. You got to go with some gut feel. The guy had won 3 tournaments in a row. And we've seen younger players do well. Like the way that I would think about it, like if you look at someone like Matthew Wolff, like really what's the difference between him and when people were like playing Jordan Spieth when he was a rookie?
Well, I don't know. Jordan Spieth. What is Jordan Spieth's price tag going to be at the Players next week?
He's played very poorly. He had a couple of good runs at the Players, but he's played really poorly. I'm going to guess he's going to be like 8,100.
I want Jordan Spieth to be like 7.3. It would just make me happy.
I'm curious to know what his Masters price is going to be because I still think he's going to be 10K.
Yeah, he'll still be expensive at the Masters because his betting he'll be like 9-1.
Yeah, he's the 3rd favorite. Actually, he's down to 14-1 in the betting market.
Guy plays so bad, and you just can't get better odds on him.
Let's see. Jordan Spieth 16-1 to win the Masters right now. If that gets to like 18 or 20, I'll probably hit it.
If it gets to 40, I'll hit it.
I mean, I bet him last year. I bet him last year at 10-1. Like the Masters, if you don't believe in course history, that's fine. There are certain courses where it really comes through. That is definitely one of them. There's a reason that Fred Couples still like competes at the Masters at 98 years old.
I am not an anti-course history guy. I certainly believe that course history and course fit are very real things. No argument for me on that.
So I'm looking here. Sam Burns is someone I like. He's $6,300. The only reason I bring up Michael Kim is because he's 5th in approaches from beyond 200 yards over the past 24 rounds. And even extrapolating longer term, he's still inside the top 10. I just found that very interesting. Placed well inside the top 20 here last year too. So what about min price statistical darling Anders Albertson? Are we finally over him?
Yeah, I think I would rather play like Corey Connors has better strokes gained ball striking numbers than Keegan Bradley. He just super can't putt or hit wedge shots either.
Yeah, it's tough for him. I like him at shorter courses more than I like him at longer courses. So that's where I fall with him. Vaughn Taylor. Someone sent me a thing last week that they're never playing Vaughn Taylor again after his Sunday. Like the guy was $6,700 and made the cut. Like what else do you want?
No, I mean, I don't know if I would play Vaughn Taylor here, but I would play Vaughn Taylor again. But Taylor not coming up for me this week at all.
Yeah, Love, Connors, and Kim are the 3 that rate out the best from way, way down. Shank and Roger Sloan, but like Gooch is number 1 in the short-term model.
Yeah, Gooch will be in my player pool this week for sure.
Yeah, Lashley and Gooch, I know that both of them are going to be popular, but I just don't see the other way out if you're going to go down to this range, except for Aaron Wise.
Joel Damon.
Yeah, you can listen. You can keep playing Joel Damon. I'll keep playing Joaquin Neiman, and we'll call it even as both bad picks.
I don't know how much I will even actually get into this range though, especially if I decide to not go super mega overweight, either Rory or Rose, and I just kind of stick to this $9,000 range with Bryson as my most expensive guy. I don't think I will have to play a ton of guys down in this range.
Maybe. What about someone like Patrick Rogers?
Yeah, I mean, I like Patrick. I always like Patrick Rogers though.
Because you have this range. It's like Wise, or you have Hoffman, Im, Wise, McDowell, Neiman, Rogers, Werner, Lashley. You can make a pretty compelling case for most of those guys to use. I'm not going to say that they're going to be good, but like you can see the path to where they end up like T13 or something.
Yeah. You can see Patrick Rogers can grind out a T18 here, no problem.
But you talk about Ben Ann, there's a lot of water. Like Patrick Rogers' blow-up potential is just so large.
I just kind of assume that that's in play at all the Florida courses. Like, just kind of embrace the variance. Don't necessarily try and factor it in too much.
So what you're saying is continue to roll with Joaquin Neiman, like I've been doing. So yes, thank you for that.
Yeah,
thank you for the vote of confidence.
Bet Joaquin Neiman every week. Play Joaquin Neiman on DraftKings every week. Pair him with Luke List, and fade everyone who's actually good at putting.
Dave, there we go. That's the move. That's how we'll conclude this section of the Arnold Palmer Invitational, sponsored by MasterCard. DraftKings Picks and Preview. Davis, host of the TakeCast, writing for Roto Experts like all year round in football now, writing for Daily Roto. Tell everyone where they can consume all of this content and what they should really be looking for.
RotoExperts.com for all of our NFL 365 coverage. Search for the TakeCast wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to go back and listen to some episodes with Pat, I think we have 4 episodes together at this point, and actually just talked about doing another episode while we were off air here. So look out for that as well.
We haven't done one since I became a father.
Kid.
Yeah, since I became a father.
Yeah.
Nothing's really changed. I just sleep. Well, I don't really sleep less. I just get more like weirdly inconsistent sleep. I'm up at hours that I wasn't normally up. Those are my designated napping hours. Now they are not.
Now they're your fatherhood hours.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like making sure the baby doesn't die hours. Like, oh, it's 5 a.m. That's usually when I go to sleep, like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. And then I get back up at like 6:30 or 7. And just, that's not happening anymore. My sleep schedule is now dictated by him.
Sounds pretty terrifying to me.
Yeah, well, I need to get I need to win. Like, I went for a shoot in LA last week. That's why I didn't do a DraftKings show. And I hired like a night nurse who are like hilariously expensive. And I could definitely not afford outside of like a night that I was gone, just to help my wife out a little bit at the beginning. But like, if I win like the Players next week, I think it's $250K for first, or even this week, if I win the $5, it's $150K. I'll probably just hire a night nurse and get more sleep.
I would pay $150,000 a year just to get 8 hours of sleep a night, probably.
I mean, it's not going to cost me $150,000, but it costs like, I don't know, like $350 a night to get like a legitimate nurse to come in. And my wife's crazy about this stuff. I was like, why don't we just hire some like babysitter and she'll do it for like, I don't know, $80 a night and like popcorn. But she wasn't having
$80 a night is what the night rate is for a babysitter in Toronto.
I have no idea. I wasn't even allowed to look into it. I had to look into like the highest of the high credentialed people to come over, and I had to pay like $40 an hour.
What a bummer for you, man. Because I'm pretty sure you could find like a 16-year-old girl who would do it for way less than $80 on a night.
I guess so. I mean, I was looking at this babysitting site. I actually did look through. I didn't look at what the prices were, but the people did not look like legitimate candidates that I wanted to leave my baby with. They looked very high.
No, you don't want to leave. You either get like a family friend to do it, or you hire a night nurse.
See, that's the issue though. Like my wife and I both live up here, but none of our family does. They all live in other parts of the country. We're just kind of isolated here.
That's brutal for the child rearing to not have the family around.
We really should have thought this out better. We moved to the most expensive place possible, and then all the amenities that like getting some sort of nurse or some sort of babysitter, super expensive as well, and none of our family lives here. It was just a very poorly planned out idea. So I need to win money. Please support Pat Mayo. I'm going to start a GoFundMe.
Start a GoFundMe to buy you entries to the Drive the Green until you win it.
Exactly. I was talking to someone the other day. Like, I've been just very mediocre DraftKings wise. Like, I think I was in for 175 last week, got 110 out. I've just been having a lot of those weeks. Or if like I put in 200, I'll get like 230 out. No big weeks. I had one really bad week where I got wiped off the board, but generally treading water week after week after week. But it kind of occurred to me that I don't think I can ever be down at DraftKings in my life playing golf, which is fantastic to know.
Yeah, isn't that a good feeling?
Yeah, like
because I'm doing the same thing.
I can just be the worst,
but I don't have
for
the
like
20K win.
Yeah, the 20K win buys me like 20 years of entries that I put in, and if I'm just going like basically breaking even every week, then I'm just adding more to it.
Yeah, I'm jealous of your position.
So maybe you can get one this week. Maybe you'll win the Drive for the Green, or at least enter the Pat Mayo Experience Open, which you can find the link to in the description of this podcast and win that. That's $5K for first. That's not bad. You're facing significantly fewer people.
I'm in there. I'm in. My entries are registered.
Did you play all three or just play the one?
I just reserved one, but I'm going to go ahead and do the other two right now.
Well, what do you think of the payout structure there? Because I really worked with DraftKings to make it reasonable. I want that, like, I wanted to for sure to have the min cash be double what the entry fee is. So 25% of the field gets paid. If you min cash, you get 30 for your $15 investment. I kind of wanted to make it cash gamey in a sense, but still a larger prize pool. That I didn't want people going broke playing my tournament. It's a listeners league. I want the listeners to compete. It's fun to compete against the same people every single week. That I want to make it financially viable for everyone. Like, I had a bad week last week, but I think I won $40 in my event on my one lineup. So I lost $5 in the Pat Mayo Experience Open. Like, if you generally cash one of the three lineups every week, you're almost breaking even.
I love the payout structure. It's cool. It's cool to have 25% of the field paid. I think that's good. And I assume a lot of the people are probably entering these lineups in the Drive the Green as well, or like the $3, whatever that's called. And, if they have like the stone nuts, they'll probably make money on those entries too.
Yeah, like someone, I believe it was 3 weeks ago, won my contest. He only entered one lineup, but he entered the same lineup 3 times. Came first, second, and third, and like also came second in the $5, second in the 44, won the 150 single entry. Like, the guy just had a huge week.
When you know, you know.
I guess so. I wish I knew.
Yeah, I wish I knew which weeks Bryson was going to win and which weeks Bryson was going to play like an amateur golfer.
Well, the thing is if you play Bryson or bet Bryson, just bet him every single week. Like, people bet Ricky all the time at like ludicrous numbers, but Bryson wins way more.
I mean, Bryson is better than Ricky.
Yeah, of course he is, but people don't think that.
Is that a controversial thing to say?
I think it is to the public at large, but I don't think that anyone who really pays attention to this stuff thinks it's an outrageous take.
Yeah, Bryson is better than Ricky.
Yeah, who would you rank right now? Like, if you had to go top 5 players in the world, who would they be? DJ, Rose, Bryson,
yeah, it'd be
Brooks,
DJ, Rose,
Rory.
And I don't know. I guess Bryson would be in there for me.
Bryson would be in there. I mean, the guy's 5 wins in the past like 12 months. You know, the one we always forget about is Justin Thomas.
And Justin Thomas.
Justin Thomas. I always forget about Justin Thomas.
It would be DJ, Rose, Rory, JT, and probably Rom for me.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Rom.
Actually, over Bryson.
But you would have Rom over Bryson, and you would have Rom over Brooks?
I think Rom seems to be better than Brooks. Yeah.
Yeah, but Rom has that meltdown potential that Brooks just doesn't seem to have.
Yeah, Brooks cool as a cucumber. You know, I guess if you want to factor it in like that, yeah. I think
if we're making subjective rankings, that you do factor in stuff like that.
Like, yeah,
go ahead.
I would bet on Brooks over Rom most of the time, so I guess that's disingenuous of me to say.
That's probably the best way to think about it. Like, if they were all 15-1 to win this week, which one would you bet on?
Oh, I would bet on Brooks. I would bet on Brooks over Rom. Yeah.
Where's Tiger?
Can't help myself.
Where does Tiger fit into that?
See, I'm the wrong person to ask about this because I was sort of too young and not paying attention to professional golf during Tiger's, like, just amazing otherworldly run. So I don't have that same sort of mystic, like, ooh and ah to the name of Tiger Woods that a lot of other people have. Like, he would be in my top 10, but probably, he would be behind Rahm, behind Day, kind of like that.
Well, Day, I think, is a big wild card in talking about the best players because 3 times a year he is the best player in the world and he's unbeatable. And then he's Jason Day the rest of the time. He's really,
and then he looks like Jason Kokrak for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. Like, I mean, Siwoo is sort of like the minor league version of that, where all of a sudden Siwoo is just dominating everyone in the field. You're like, what the fuck is going on with Siwoo Kim? How can't he sustain this ever? And then all of a sudden, he just comes out and wins and beats like good fields. Patrick Reed is very much in that same boat. I think that Jordan Spieth, we're going to find over time, becomes one of those guys where he's just going to pop up with no form and just destroy everyone once a year, or once every 2 years in really significant fields. I think that's what his destiny is.
You know who used to be like that, who's not any good anymore, is Danny Lee.
But Danny Lee has one career win at the Greenbrier.
He used to just show up with like he would like in the Showdown era of golf. Like if Showdown existed in like 2015, he would have been like the best like Showdown GPP play ever, because he used to just post random like 62s all the time.
Sure, but Danny Lee is like, if we talked about the top 100 players in the world, Danny Lee.
No, he's not. He's not in.
When I'm thinking like the future for Spieth, even Reed to a certain extent, is like what Martin Keimer used to be, where Keimer could show up anywhere and win.
Sure,
majors, it doesn't make a difference, and he would miss 8 cuts in a row before it.
What a hilarious comparison that is for what people used to think Spieth was to what he is now. Martin Keimer.
I mean, I don't think that's that outrageous. What, Spieth has 3 majors?
No.
Keimer has 2 majors. Keimer has 2 majors and won the Players. Like, Keimer's a Hall of Fame golfer.
Yeah, I am not a Keimer hater. I'm on board with that, but just people still, the popular conversation about Spieth is still like he's one of the, like if you ever turn on the Golf Channel and listen to them talk about Spieth, they talk about him like he's one of the 5 best golfers in the world.
I think that he's earned the ability to continuously be talked about because, he's like much like Rory will have at Augusta if in May, if Jordan Spieth wins the PGA Championship, he has the career Grand Slam. Like that's no people can talk about Ricky all they want. The guy can't fucking win a major.
No, I agree. I'm not a Ricky guy or a Spieth guy. Those are neither of my guys.
But I do think that he is on that significant tier down. Like if we talked about the 15 to 30th best golfers in the world, that's where Spieth would probably come in right now. Like give me Tommy Fleetwood, give me Molinari, give me Tiger, all those guys over him. Like even
Molinari, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think Molinari had his peak. Like last year was going to be peak Molinari. Now he's going to revert back into being the Molinari that we all kind of knew, who's really good but just can't putt.
Fair enough. Not a horrible golfer to be.
No, not at all. But like, do you know that Matt Kuchar is now the 22nd ranked player in the world?
Very deservedly so. He's been amazing.
He might be live at the Masters too, because he plays well there anyway, and he's 50 to 1.
And he's got to be like the favorite of the field to make a hole in one on 16 too.
Him or Louis or Patrick Reed.
Yeah.
The 2 guys that we didn't even talk about as a part of this conversation, like we didn't throw Hideki in, but I think he's a part of that like Molinari type range. Xander.
Agreed.
Where does Xander fit into all this?
Xander is way better than people think. Xander is like top 20 probably.
He might be top 10. He's top 10 in the world rankings because the guy wins.
Yeah, I would take Xander over Paul Casey.
Would you take Xander over Ricky? They both have the equal amount of PGA Tour.
No, wins. I would take Ricky still, and I'm not even a Ricky guy, but I think that Ricky maybe doesn't have the wins, but he has like the better longer term form.
I agree with you on that. But at the Masters right now, I think Ricky's actually more live to win the Masters than Xander is, but Ricky's 16 to 1, Xander's 33.
Yeah, I would bet Xander at 33. That's got to be a plus EV bet.
I don't think so. Not with Hideki at 40 and Sergio at 40. Sergio is heating up at exactly the right. This is exactly what he did the year he won the Masters. Exact same scenario. The ball striking is off the charts. He just hasn't been rolling it.
Do you think that he could get lower than 40?
Well, I'm going to bet him to win the Players next week, where a place where he's won before and just played really well. That it depends on what he does there. Like there's this tournament next week with Sergio. He'll be at the match play. If he does anything at one of those, his numbers will get slashed.
Sergio 40 to 1 is pretty intriguing to me. I might just go bet that right now.
Well, you have a situation where you have Bryson, Bubba, Reed, Sergio, I feel like and Ian Poulter. I think those 5 guys, you always get more value on their outright betting numbers because people don't like them.
Yeah, it's great for Bryson because Bryson, people don't like him and he wins all the time.
Yeah, and even someone like Patrick Reed. Like Patrick Reed coming in as defending champion is 33-1. He has the same odds as Paul Casey.
Talk about guys I love to bet against.
Paul Casey? Paul Casey on Sundays?
Yeah. Oh, man. I that's a guy who on Sundays in Showdown I don't play.
It's funny, like when I had the Phil bet at Pebble and Casey was up by 3, like I felt like the entire time that Phil was going to win, which is shocking. I was sweating Keith Mitchell more against Brooks Koepka this weekend than I was Casey with a 3-stroke lead against Phil.
That's just Paul Casey for you.
All right. Davis Mattek, thank you for being on. Follow Davis on Twitter at Davis Mattek. If you people out there want to get into a draw for 20 DK dollars, smash the like button, leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section, and tell me who you think will be the most popular player under $7,000. I think it's going to be the Gooch. He rates out well, and his name is the Gooch. Like, people just want to play that guy. So that's my pick, but I'm curious to see what everyone out there says. Also, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, Stitcher, or Spotify. DraftKings handles something nice about the show, and you, too, will be in a draw for 20 DK dollars. Fantasy National prices going up on Thursday, so get in now. Get grandfathered into the weekly, monthly, or yearly rates. Right now, Masters coming up, Players coming up, all the majors. This is the time to get in and really start taking golf seriously. You play more than $20 a week on DraftKings or in the betting market, you might want to get into Fantasy National. Just saying. I'm Pat Mayo. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.
Mayo experience! Experience!